Hello everyone and welcome to Camping with Lenny. Today we're going to talk about how to choose the right campsite. Location, location, location. That is the key to find the somewhat perfect campsite for your next trip. There's a lot of rules, a lot of food for thoughts, rule of thumbs to find a proper campsite. But if you're the first timer, it's kind of hard to find one frankly, you're not going to have the experience to find a proper campsite. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about my rule of thumbs that to find a proper campsite for your first camping trip. So let's start with something simple. If you are in Ontario and you are going to provincial park or any state park, some parks will have a map. The map will tell you what locations the sites are, where is it close to the amenities like bathrooms, comfort stations, the washrooms, laundry, you name it. Everything's going to be there. So you have to do your proper homework to find out what locations or how far you want to walk to those kind of amenities. Some sites as well too will have photos of the site. That will help you to determine, do you want a canopy of trees covering your site, or do you want an open air site? So that will help you determine which one you want, right? The other one that I do want to let you know as well too is talk to your friends who's been camping before. Talk to people who's been to those parks before. Maybe they'll give you an insight that, hey, go to site number 5 because it's close enough to the bathrooms that it's easy walk, but it's far enough that you won't hear anybody. Or you go to site number 10, it's private, but there's an open air, there's a lot of suns coming in, but not enough shades. Those kind of things. So you can utilize your friends and family to tell you where to go as well. That's a very good insight, especially if that park that you're thinking about going, someone already been there. So let's go through the exercise of looking for a park for a site for your first time by yourself, using photos from the site itself. So first thing that I look for on a site is the level or the gradients of the site itself. In the photo itself, it can give you an idea if the site itself is in a hill, for example, a little tiny bump in the hill, or in the or it's sort of a divot down a bit, right? That will determine if it rains, the water will collect a bit, right? Like a puddle, or if the site itself is up in the hill but there's no shade, it's going to be super sunny during the day and it's going to be really hot. Right, so you have to keep an eye on that one. Personally, I look for level as much as possible. Right, so to determine the levelness is where the road meets your site. If the site is gradient going down a bit from the road, right, that will tell you that the site itself is going downwards, but there's a good chance the water will pool. Right, if the road and the site is slightly elevated, there's a ramp going up, that means the site is actually elevated upwards. So personally for me, I try to find the happy medium in between, straight as possible from the road. Right, if it's going to be slightly up or below, I look at where the fire pit is located, or potentially where the fire pit is. That will tell you if the fire pit is actually very low compared to the other ground. This means the water can pool there. If it's higher up, that's perfect. This means the water will be coming away from the fire, right? But when you get to the site, you just have to find out where the low point is. For me, I look from halfway, in between, right? But I typically go towards the higher side. The reason why I go for the higher side is this: everything pulls away from the campsite, not inwards but away, going outwards, especially this rain, right? The other one as well I do want to check out is drainage, right? It is very key, especially if it's a rainy season or if it's raining. You want to know how it drains. So that's why it's very, very important for you to see if the gradient of your site goes inwards or outwards. If it goes inwards, there's a good chance it will pool, right? And it's going to be very hard to dry, especially during the spring or fall or late or early spring when you go camping at that time, or late fall, late fall, early fall, the water will pull in, and it's going to be hard for you to have that dried up. So I usually go for the highest one as much as possible, and start looking at the potential drainage of water, especially if it's rains, right? The other one as well that I want to check, that I do check out in the photos, if it's there, is how the trees covers the site. The reason why I look at that is because if the canopy, the tree canopy covers, it's almost like a dome like into your campsite. It's great for shading, right? But it has a tendency to collect wind. The wind, it becomes almost like a wind tunnel filter, so it gets really cold in that area. You can have a massive temperature change between an open area versus a covered area, right? The reason why I also want to look at that as well too is how open is it. I like to find something in between, covered in the side but open in the middle. The reason why I want to see that is because of the potential rain. Because remember, you are outdoors and you don't know when it's going to rain. If it does rain, you want the whole site to be dry, right? And also, I do want to see sun as well too. Just again, the drier it is, it's going to be less mosquitoes, less buggies, right? If it's going to be very damp and wet, there's going to be a lot of mosquitoes, a lot of bugs, a lot of things that you just don't want to deal with, especially if you're planning to camp more than 2 nights. Right, so that's why I made sure that I look for sites that's covered in the sides. Again, gives a little bit of shading just in case it gets really hot, but open in the middle just to help keep everything dry and sunny at the same time too. If you are planning to camp with like solar panels or anything like that, like a Jackery, like what I have, I do require sun to charge my batteries. That would be nice. But this will also work as well too if you have a rechargeable battery pack that needs sunlight to charge. Right, that will be perfect for you as well too, because that will it will help you charge your device, your battery bank, so you can charge your device. So just keep that in mind as well too. The other one I do want to check as well too is the locations of the facilities, like washrooms, bathrooms, laundry. If you're planning to be there more than a week, those kind of things. I personally look for where the bathrooms are, especially in the Ontario provincial parks. I try to be roughly about a minute a walk away as much as possible. That will give me a good radius of like where to go, where to stay at. You don't want to be too close to the bathroom, because some areas, some parks, washrooms, not bathrooms, washrooms. Some parks have comfort station that's considered outhouses. So you don't want to be too close to those, because if it's a very sunny and hot day, you can smell it, right? But you want to be you have to be close enough that if there's an emergency, you can get there pretty easily. So I look for about a minute radius away from those for those comfort stations, bathrooms, just in case there's an emergency. Plus, that gives me far enough that it's away from the smells that comes out from it. Also, it will minimize the traffic in your area as well too, because the closer you go, this means people will be driving to those sites and using the facilities. This means it's going to be traffic jams. It's going to be a lot of people talking. It just gets very, very crowded really, really fast. So that's why I made sure that I'm about a minute away radius. That's my comfort for me being close, but not too close. Right. The other one I also look at for campsite is the traffic, pedestrian traffic mostly. I've been to campsite that's like close to the bathroom, again, the minute radius, but there's pathways getting to the bathroom that's away from my campsite. So I didn't see anybody at all. Right, because they were bypassing my area, because there's pedestrian pathways at the other side of the line of trees, for example, right? I've been to campsite that it's the go-to directions to get into the bathrooms or to get into the beach or to the playgrounds, for example. I got so much traffic going back and forth, right? So you just have to look at how traffic works. Like if the site is in a cul-de-sac, it's going to be a lot quieter compared to an intersection between two sections of the campsite, right? So you just have to look at that. You have to look at the location and how traffic it is and all that potential foot traffic and car traffic, right? So you just have to look at that as well too. The other one I do want to talk to you guys about is when you're about to set up. All right, it's the biggest thing is for me is the door orientation. Typically, people don't think about the door orientation because, again, no one thinks about it. But it's very, very important. The reason why it's very important is your privacy. You don't want the doors to be facing the traffic area. For example, when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you see is a car, pedestrians are walking back and forth between campsites. You don't want to see that because it's just very awkward, right? Because you open it, there's a good chance that your partner is still sleeping or someone's changing. It's just too much, right? I personally put my door facing 90 degree away if 90 degree from the entrance of the campsite, for example, or slightly away close to towards the fire, for example. The reason why I do that is twofold. One, it gives me the privacy that I need and easy access to get out of the site if I need to, right? Second is I have a chance to see the fire just in case if the fire flares up in the middle of the night. I can just open the door and just go out and take care of the fire, for example. I just don't want to be going around the tent, right? Especially if it's an emergency. I'd rather open it, go right away, away from the campsite, or deal with any emergencies with inside the campsite itself. So there's a lot of things that you have to look at that as well too, because I'm camping on a well manicured park, government or private. I don't have to worry about trees above my tent, but I do look at that as well too. So just keep it in mind. Once in a while, do look up. If you see something that's like potential hazard, don't set up your tent underneath it. Move it somewhere else. So just keep that in mind. So you can also use your car as well too. By the way, if you want to provide extra privacy, you can park your car in a way that it gives a little bit more. It gives you that barrier of privacy. Okay. Now the next one that I do want to talk to you about too is how far are you from potable water, clean water supply. The same thing as the washroom scenario. I tried to find something that's about 30 seconds to a minute walk away from a water faucet or a water station. Reason why I do that is like you don't have to walk too far with your bucket for water or for your jug of water. It's easy just to walk there, grab it, walk back, right? Typically, the water faucet is usually where people migrate to, especially before and after meals. That's where everyone goes to, and on top of that too, depending on the type of water collection area, like how the water's been drained, how water gets drained to the ground or anything like that, that can be a very mosquito infected area. So that's why you just have to be careful how far you get there, because it will migrate to your site if it gets really, really wet. So just keep that in mind as well too. But I'm about 30 seconds to a minute away from the faucet. So I try to look at the perfect triangle, the washroom, the faucet, and my side is. I try to be somewhat in the middle as much as possible or close to it, so at least it's easier for me to go either or. So it makes my life a lot easier. I don't have to walk too far. I don't have to worry about traffic as well too. It's a good medium to find where that's going to be. The next one I do want to talk to you guys about is like the size of the site. Do you want a big one or do you want a small one? Those are the things that you have to look for. I personally like the small ones. Okay, I'm going to start with the small ones. The reason why I look for the small one is I like to be part of nature. Yes, I know I'm going car camping. I know I'm going to provincial park. I am going to a private park, something like that. Being part of nature is not really a nature thing, but at least it gives you the illusion of you're close to it, being part of it. And also the smaller ones give you additive privacy, right? But you do have to consider a few things. One is is it gonna fit is the site gonna fit the people that you're planning to bring with your camp? If you're by yourself, it's perfect, right? You just have to make sure it fits your tent and your car and other things. If you're in a couple or with friends or family, having a small site can be a problematic because it can be very tight. So just be aware of that. The other one as well too is the booking portion of it. You can get the site itself can be booked very very fast because again it is a small site. It's more secluded. It's usually stuck in a corner, right? And usually those sites get booked really fast, right? But the good news is that site itself can be very quiet. It can be very very quiet because you have this site that's like covered with trees because you're tucked in the corner and no one's around you, right? So it's very very quiet. So it's a very good thing too. So again, you just have to look at your preference if you want full canopy or non-canopy trees and all that stuff. But it can be very very quiet as well too. And on top of that too, no one bothers you because sometimes it's so small that people think it's nothing there. So it's a good thing to have because back in May, my first camping site of the season, first camping trip of the season, I found a site in one provincial park. It was small. It was secluded that no one knew it was there. I was very very happy. So that's gonna be my favorite spot from now on. So I put that in the. I'm going back to that site list. So, but yeah, it's a great little site. Yeah. So let's talk about the benefits of having a big campsite. Having a good campsite is great. Reason why is this: if you have multiple people going with you, like several families or friends wants to share one big site, this is perfect. You guys can be in one spot, everyone can be together, you don't have to worry about getting another site to bring them in. It's just perfect. I've been to big campsites with friends and family and it works out really really well, right? You have room for your kids to run around. You have toys, your recreational toys like a kayak or whatever. It can be fit there too, so it works perfectly. Typically, big campsites like that gets been booked for that gets used mostly for our RVs or trailers, right? Because again, it's mixed use depending on the site you go to. Usually, those are designed for those kind of things. Second of all, as well too is typically they're an open field. Usually it's been considered part of an open field, so your privacy will go down significantly, right? Because everything is open, everyone can see everything, so just be aware of that. So also it can get crowded because if that site becomes your main site that everyone will be going to, it can get crowded. So if you're good with that, you're all good, right? And also it's usually those things are pretty close to the amenities. So if you're the bathrooms, the potable water faucet, it's pretty close to those. So it's great for big families. You don't have to walk too far. So I've used the big one and small ones, small size. I usually try to find something in between. If my wifey and myself go, or two or another couple will go, there's four of us. I usually find that kind of site. If it's a bigger event like friends and family, like lots of us, then I have a tendency to go to a bigger ones because again it's easy to fit a lot of people there. What I've done before is get a big one and a medium to small one, just to spread out the locations of the tent to give a little bit more privacy. So those are the things that the big ones versus small ones campsites. One thing that I do want to touch upon is the stuff to avoid. Like I mentioned before, look for sites that is not heavily trafficked because that will ruin your experience because you'll hear cars, you'll hear people, you'll just hear a lot of things that you try to get away from, right? So look at the location of your campsite. Make sure you avoid big, heavily trafficked area. That includes pedestrian as well too. Plus, that will help. If you avoid those, it will help your privacy as well too, and the quietness of your site. The other one as well too that I mentioned before is the keep an eye on the drainage situation of your area. I know it's kind of hard to determine that from a picture, but use the, like I mentioned before, use the road as a starting point. If your site is below the road, it goes down from the road, this means there's a good chance it'll be draining away into the middle of the park. If it's up high, the water will be draining away from the site itself, so it will give you a better indication that the site can be very, very dry, especially during the rainy season, during the rainy times, and will dry up faster. And look at the canopy as well too. Some photos of your site should have a wide enough angle that you can see what's above it, right? And if the site itself is doing a good job, notifying the user if it's considered partial covered or fully covered, it should tell you there too. So just keep on that as well too. The other one as well too is the last thing I want to mention to avoid and to double check when you book your site is sharp object. I know it's kind of hard to find your sharp object on your on the photos, but look how the trees are. I know that sounds kind of weird, but look how the trees are situated around the site itself. If you see trees that's like really big, right? There's a good chance that those roots can be very, very below the grade, like really underground, but some of them do pop up off the ground as well too. So keep an eye on that as well too. Also look at the ground as well too regarding how clean or maintained is the ground. Right, that will give you an idea if the ground itself is has a lot of sharp objects like pine cones, branches, anything like that can potentially harm your tent. Definitely look at that as well too. Plus, it will help as well too, depending on if you're planning to go at the beginning of the camp season or later in the camp season, because some trees, especially in Ontario, we do have pine cones. They do fall during the spring and fall because of the wind and all that stuff, and broken branches can be in the ground as well too. So just keep an eye on that as well when you're looking for a new site. So hopefully this helps, and let me know what you guys think. If there's anything that I was missing, please let me know at campingwithlenny.com. There you can find there you can just join the conversation there if you can regarding if you have any more tips and tricks. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. If you like what you're hearing, consider supporting this podcast by buying me a cup of coffee. Link in the description. You can also visit campingwithlenny.com. There you can find other episodes and links that can help you on your next camping adventures. Thanks again.